moving on to our next news story before we get into our big debate here. Um, Something that's been debated recently is, Netflix and um, theatrical releases, because there was a whole situation where they gave Glass Onion, the sequel to Knives Out, like a partial theatrical release for like a week or two over Thanksgiving, and then immediately pulled it, put it straight to Netflix, lost a lot of money. A lot of money was left on the table there, and it left a lot of people wondering, like, man, why would they do that? And then you later go to find out that Netflix's whole model, of course, is streaming, completely ignoring the fact that if your movie plays in theaters, it does well on streaming nearly 100% of the time if you look at statistics. I think 3 years after Moana came out, it was the number one streaming movie on Disney Plus. And it keeps getting proven time and time again, but they don't care. They want to kill theatrical. They buy up all these indie films at festivals so they don't go theatrical. But that question came into play again when Greta Gerwig signed a deal to go direct Narnia for Netflix. This is coming off the heels of Barbie, which was a $1 billion movie, one of the highest, if not I think it is the highest grossing movie in Warner Brothers history, if I'm not mistaken. And obviously, there's some incentive to put a movie in theaters there, considering the big hit that she just had. And in the midst of all this, in the midst of the negotiations, Netflix was going to try to produce a movie with Margot Robbie as a producer, and Margot Robbie turned down a tens of millions of dollar deal to say, no, I don't want to do this if we're not going theatrical, and killed it. And it kind of sent a message throughout Hollywood of, oh my God, they're really taking theatrical seriously if you're going to be negotiating with Netflix. So it has finally happened, everybody. Netflix and Greta Gerwig have come to an agreement to give Narnia an IMAX release for several weeks. This is huge news. As you can see here, it's going to release Thanksgiving 2026 in theaters, release on Netflix Christmas 2026, and this is an absolutely big deal. We're going to pull up the Deadline article now. And what has been the worst kept secret since Woody Allen played Michael's Pub in NYC? Okay. Greta Gerwig's streaming adaptation of C.S. Lewis' Narnia is getting an exclusive 2-week IMAX global run in 90 countries in 1,000 theaters ahead of the picture's drop on Netflix. It will release in IMAX on Christmas Day in 2026 and debut on Netflix on Christmas Day 2026. Currently, the other movies booked around the Thanksgiving area for that year are The Hunger Games, Sunrise on the Reaping, and an untitled Warner Brothers event title. Does Warner Brothers have event titles anymore? And an untitled Disney animated movie. So this is also coming off the heels, which the article goes on to talk about, of this year's Thanksgiving box office being record-breaking, of Wicked, Gladiator 2, and all those films that came out and all the money that it made. So clearly there's some money to be made in that market there. Narnia is a huge family film that is going to be extremely marketable in a way. And yeah, Greta Gerwig's going to have her fun, interesting take on it. But this is a big franchise play. It's going to be a big franchise movie. And now, who knows what's going to happen? I hope this will never happen. I hope that it does so well theatrically they let it stay longer. But if we know Netflix and we know how they play, they're going to immediately pull it and leave a bunch of money on the table. Nicholas, what are your thoughts on this?
Yeah, I mean, one, I think Greta Gerwig's a fantastic director. I loved Barbie. I really enjoyed Lady Bird. I haven't seen Little Women, and I think she's just as strong a writer as well as she is a director, especially when paired with her partner Noah Baumbach. And I mean, Narnia. I'll be honest, never really. I watched all the old movie. Um,
Movies.
and I don't know, they never really fully connected with me on that. So I wouldn't say that I have excitement going into this outside of the fact that Greta Gerwig's involved in it. I think it being a Netflix movie also kind of put my little more hesitation into it. Because I think seeing Glass Onion in theaters was a great experience, and I was fortunate enough to be able to catch it during that like week 2 week window where they had it playing in theaters. And lo and behold, like you said, it did better once it streamed. Look at Top Gun
Look at
Maverick. Look at
that.
every other sort of example of it.
Hmm.
And I think after the success of Barbie, I think that really was something that Greta Gerwig had really top of mind. Is like, well, look, this was competing against another movie. They were able to raise each other up, and both made mucho dineros at the box office. So I think it's a smart decision ultimately, and I think the more interesting part is the precedent that it's setting, right? Because now I feel like part of, you saw these talents going to these streaming services. I mean, David Fincher just did The Killer for them last year. Martin Scorsese did Killers of the Flower Moon for Apple. They're attracting big name talent directors who want to see their movie in a theater screen. They're movie directors. I know streaming's still sort of new and everything, but I think that this sort of partnership to help theaters, help build everything up, help the directors, I think it's going to be positive in the long run. And I hope that more directors start to sort of fight for that.
No, you bring up a lot of good points, and I don't think we should take for granted the fact that Margot Robbie turned down working with Netflix because of the lack of theatrical option. I think that's what really kind of hit them in the ass about this. And yes, it's a cool precedent, but it's also a risk. If Narnia flops hard and Netflix loses money, which I don't think is going to happen, but if that did happen, like then Netflix looks bad, and they're going to take that out on Greta Gerwig. But I don't think that's going to happen. I think it's going to be very successful in the limited time that it plays. And I think that they have to really harp. It's a good thing that it's an IMAX release, because putting IMAX in your marketing has been working. We've seen that work with a ton of movies that wouldn't otherwise. I mean, not that they wouldn't perform well, but they're overperforming because of the premium formats. The premium formats have done a great job marketing why you should go see them. And, I also agree this is a good idea. I wish Netflix would do it more, but as long as they still have their same leadership where, their whole goal is to try to kill the theatrical model, it won't happen. But this does set a good precedent. I hope more filmmakers take the Margot Robbie approach and just say, I will straight up turn down tens of millions of dollars if it means I'm not going to go theatrical. And if you're thinking, like, why would anyone do that? Why would anyone turn down that amount of money? It's because you're eliminating the possibility of your movie catching in the pop cultural zeitgeist. Look at a movie like Madam Web, for example. Not a very good movie, in my opinion. Pretty awful, actually. It was one of the highest movies on Netflix. I believe it was number 1 at one point on Netflix when it hit. Why? Because it came out in theaters and hit the pop cultural zeitgeist, not for good reasons, but it hit the pop cultural zeitgeist in a way that everyone wanted to check it out and see how bad it actually was. See this kind of thing and be like, I have to see this. If Madam Web went directly to streaming, it disappears. It doesn't build up that pop cultural zeitgeist. It goes away. And, there's a value to putting your movies in theaters, and that's the value that it brings. So hopefully they can do that more.
Netflix notoriously also doesn't market their movies, except if you look online, there's that Interstellar billboard. Why they're marketing that, I don't know. But
me neither.
There's a chance, like, honestly, like, if I wasn't as sort of in tune with pop culture as we are for the show and everything, I would open up Netflix, see Legends of Narnia, or Chronicles of Narnia, sorry, and just think it's the old one that Netflix just got the rights to or something. And it's like, now it's streaming. It really needs a big marketing push to show, like, oh, new movie from Barbie director, watch, please. Because I feel like Chronicles of Narnia too, the movies people hold a spot, fond place for, but ultimately, like, it wasn't something that broke through as strongly as, like, Hunger Games. So, I think they're really going to need a big marketing push on that, and theatrical releasing it is going to sort of force their hand in that. I mean, there's a reason that every movie that comes out now gets an exclusive IMAX poster, gets an exclusive Dolby poster. It's because people want to go to the movies and they want to see it in a premium format, because if they're spending all that money, they want the best experience possible.
Listen, I agree with you entirely, and I think that it's just going to be one of those things where I wish the right lesson's going to be learned, but I highly doubt it. But regardless, we have a win here in that it is coming out in theaters. We can't wait.